What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Another late night video. I usually don't do these. I try to avoid doing them, but sometimes things happen and you got to talk about this stuff when it happens. And something kind of sort of big just happened and we got to talk about it. Now, I want to be very clear here. This thing that just happened is not earth-shattering. This is not some massive sea change in the NFC playoffs, but there are ramifications for Seattle, and it's also an opportunity to take a look at what the team that we thought was our main rival in the NFC, and certainly the NFC West, and maybe start to wonder if things are crumbling a little bit for that team in LA. So, yeah, we got to spend a few minutes on this one, so much so that I'm going to go ahead and do a later video. Yeah, the Falcons just beat the Rams. They actually kind of dominated the Rams, and it's changed things a little bit. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you about Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on sports games in real time with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast sports news and sports alerts right at your fingertips. And of course, you can use Sleeper to play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed together. So download Sleeper today. Use promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And you can pair that with another promo they have right now where you can get a $20 entry free with no deposit required. So get both of those things going. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper today. Get to it and go have some fun with sports this year. Right. So, yeah, the Falcons beat the Rams. They were up 24-3 at one point. They almost blew it, kicked a game-winning field goal with 20 seconds left. You guys probably watched it. And if you didn't watch it, you've heard about it by now. Yeah, it's a pretty big upset, and it does have some ramifications. Now, first, let's just get all the obvious stuff out of the way. Goodbye, Stafford MVP. Goodbye, Puka. Goodbye, Jared Verse. Goodbye, everybody. Haha. Let's have a little bit of fun with it for a second here, right? Let's have a little bit of fun. It's okay. Okay. Enough fun. We're moving on. So, what does this really mean for Seattle? Well, first, one thing that I do want to talk about is that it drastically changes the Atlanta Falcons first round pick they're sending to LA. We probably need a whole separate video there. But I'm going to worry about that probably a little bit later this week. But let's focus on just the playoff part. But let me just say that pick that Atlanta is sending to LA just got a good amount less appetizing. And we need Atlanta to win next week in order to really bring it home against the Saints. But yeah, we do need to discuss that down the line. Playoffs. So this is the playoff machine. I've filled in all the games that are either pretty obvious or games we don't care about, or in some cases both, right? Just to get an idea of where things sit. So I've got a bunch of these games already flipped. Let's think about this for a second here. Now, first of all, this has not changed. If Seattle wins, they are the 1 seed, and nothing can really get in the way of that, right? The Bears could win. The Eagles could win. It doesn't really matter. Seattle's still going to be the 1 seed. Now, what has changed is that even if let's see here. So, excuse me. I'm a little bit stumbling over my words a little bit because this did just happen and it was something that I didn't even really consider to be a realistic possibility. So I'm kind of scrambling a little bit to put this all together. So if the Rams beat the Cardinals on Sunday, if we beat the Niners, the Rams are still going to be the 5 seed. So in this case, it didn't change anything, right? Because the Rams were going to probably be the 5 seed if they beat the Falcons tonight. Now they've lost to the Falcons, but they're still going to be the 5 seed if things play out like this. Because it's not like the result of the Panthers-Buccaneers game is going to change that, right? Either Carolina wins and they win the division, Tampa Bay wins, they win the division. So whatever, we're not really thinking about that. And obviously, we could flip the Atlanta game either way. That doesn't really affect the Rams' playoff positioning. So if Seattle wins, LA is largely unaffected by the loss. Now, let's say Seattle wins and the Cardinals beat the Rams, which is very unlikely. Let's be real here. That is pretty darn unlikely. But if it does happen, I mean, I would have said that them losing to Atlanta was unlikely. Well, now the Rams bump down to the 6th seed. They go below San Francisco, and instead of going to the NFC South winner, Carolina or Tampa, they're now going to Philadelphia in this projection. So that's a lot harder. If you're LA, you definitely want to go to Carolina or Tampa. You do not want to go to Philly. I know they already lost to Carolina earlier this year, but that Carolina game, that's a matchup that they would feel good about. This Philly one, there are some problems. By the way, if the Bears lose to the Lions, which is still possible, this gets flipped, and then the Bears play or host the Rams in the wild card round. That's probably a little bit better for the Rams. I think that their offense would carve up that really, really porous Bears defense, but that's certainly debatable, and it's not really what we're here to talk about with this video. So, assuming the Rams win against the Cardinals, and let's face it, maybe the Rams are going through it a little bit right now. They're going to beat the Cardinals, right? The Cardinals haven't won a game in 2 months. I don't even think they're really trying to win games at this point. They've kind of quit on their coach. They have an argument for being the worst team in the league. Like, you look at their wins, they're not really wins that you're overly proud of for the most part. And over the last 2 months, them and the Raiders are probably 1 and 2 in terms of worst teams in the league. So if the Rams win, they're the 5 seed. And like, just to prove the point, I can say that Atlanta wins next week and it doesn't change anything. I can say the Saints win, it doesn't change that. They're still the 5 seed. Now, one wrinkle here, if Atlanta beats New Orleans next week, and I do believe Atlanta will be favored, then Carolina is guaranteed to be the division winner, even if they lose to Tampa. Now, Tampa goes first, so they won't know this, but there is a scenario where Tampa beats Carolina on Saturday, and then Atlanta beats New Orleans, and Carolina still gets the 4 seed. So that is something to look out for as well. I know we just beat down Carolina pretty good in that game on the in that game on Sunday. I still think they are a better team right now than Tampa Bay. The way Tampa Bay is playing, I don't know who they can beat. They are shockingly bad right now. All right, now, just to present the other side of it real quick. If the Seahawks lose to the 49ers, and this is where things get a little bit relevant. If San Fran wins next week against Seattle, they get the 1st seed, but Seattle gets the 5 seed now, and LA gets pushed to the 6. And you can easily see how that could be very important, because Seattle gets to play the NFC South winner, which right now is probably going to be Carolina. They just beat Carolina by 3 scores in a game where they didn't even play that good. Even though we want to win the division, I think Seattle would feel very good about beating the Panthers in the divisional round. Or, excuse me, the wild card round. So that makes life a little bit easier. Whereas now the Rams, who get bumped down to the 6th seed in this scenario, go to Philadelphia, which is significantly more imposing regardless of Philly's problems. And I want to be clear, Philly has problems. Philly has big problems, but they're a good matchup for the Rams. They've beaten the Rams 4 or 5 times in a row, I think. It's at least a few times in a row. They beat them earlier this year. It's not a game that I think the Rams would feel amazing about. So that is what happened tonight. Before tonight's result, it was possible for the Rams to get the 5 seed and Seattle to get the 6 seed, which gives LA a softer win against a team like Carolina or Tampa Bay. And I know I say that even though Carolina beat LA earlier this year, but still, it's a favorable matchup for LA. And then Seattle would have to go to Philly, which, I think we can win that game, but the weather would probably be bad. There would probably be some less than ideal conditions. It's a tough crowd to play against. Philly does have a good defense. Like, that's not super exciting. But now we don't have to worry about that. So my main thing that I'm making this video for is just to illustrate one simple thing. Because of what happened tonight, the Seahawks can only get the 1 seed or the 5 seed. They can no longer get the 6 seed. The 6 seed off the table. Because you can see, I gave the Rams the win. I gave Seattle the loss. It still was not enough. Seattle still is the 5. LA is still the 6. And Philly can't lose the division. Chicago can't lose the division. And Carolina doesn't matter here because both them and Tampa Bay have mediocre records. Okay, so rest assured that even if Seattle loses this week, we're drawing the NFC South winner in our first game. And also, if Seattle wins, then take a look at who our likely first game is going to be against. Odds are very good. At least one of these road teams is going to win. I'd say 2, maybe 3. We might get to play the Green Bay Packers at home. Who knows what's going on with Jordan Love? We know they won't have Micah Parsons. Might get to play San Francisco at home. I mean, maybe we wouldn't feel amazing about that, but in this scenario, we would have just beaten them and San Fran's beat up. They would have just gotten done with Philly. And there's also a world where we end up playing the Rams, which, I mean, certainly imposing, but with the way the Rams have played the last 2 games, I don't know. Maybe not. Okay, so I just wanted to go ahead and run all that through. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys tomorrow. Go Hawks. No stream tonight, but there will be a stream tomorrow with the Hawks Nest. We're going to go early this week, Tuesday, so keep an eye out. I will see you guys soon, and go Hawks.